The Features of Life. Jiefeng. August 16, 2005. Translated by Transin. The essence of life is a non-material structure with spirituality. To make life dynamic and expressive, its non-material essence must be embedded within a specific material structure with the help of energy. We will regard the features of life in this sense. There are 8 features of lives on Earth. They have 1. Form, 2. Consciousness, 3. Spirituality, 4. Vitality, 5. Birth, 6. Metabolism, 7. Death, 8. Transformation. Those things which have these 8 features are lives, those that do not are not. Let us consider some examples. People are lives because 1. They have forms which are visible, touchable, and occupy space. 2. They have consciousness and are able to respond to changes in their objective material worlds and form ideas by perceiving messages from their eyes, ears, noses, tongues, and bodies and transforming them into thoughts that guide their words and deeds. 3. They have spirituality and souls are only its foundations, things such as their yearning for better futures, revering the greatest creator, worshipping gods and Buddha, loving nature, and selfless devotion to humanity are expressions of people's spirituality. 4. They have vitality so they can move, walk, sit, lie, work, and create. 5. They experience birth, whether from their mother's womb or even by being cloned, they have beginnings. 6. They have metabolisms which are illustrated by their processes of birth, childhood, young adulthood, middle-agedness, and old age. 7. They die. Nobody lives forever and everyone has the same ending, death. 8. They transform. According to the principle of the conservation of matter, human bodies absorb energy as they grow through life, but their flesh is absorbed by microbes after they die and is converted into other energy. From the perspective of eternal spiritual bodies, human spiritual entities are non-material informational structures, and after they die, they enter into the horizontal time domain and begin new rounds of a life cycle in another space-time dimension. Nobody would deny that people are lives, but what about livestock, wild animals, flying birds, and even fish? Needless to say, they are all life and have consciousnesses. Some may have doubts concerning their spirituality and transformations, but in fact, you can find that animals have spirituality if you observe and pay close attention to them. For example, dogs and cats like to win attention. Parrots often imitate sounds. Horses do not commit incest. Dolphins play with people. All these phenomena prove the spirituality of animals. In addition, there are stories of animals showing gratitude, the tricks of circus animals, the strange attention-getting courtship rituals of animals, the noble self-sacrificial spirit showed by some animals to avoid species extermination, and many others, all indicate that animals have spirituality. As for the transformations of animals after death, they only appear in the narrations and descriptions of myths and fictional stories. Humans still do not understand them from the perspective of science, which shows that science has not yet developed to a sufficient level, and that human thoughts have not reached the level of such understanding. Why are there fewer and fewer animals and more people on the earth now? In fact, most animals transform into people. By analyzing people's habits, we find that some people are naturally cruel because they have transformed from tigers, wolves, leopards, and other carnivores. Some are timid because they have transformed from small herbivorous prey species. Some are naturally stubborn but loyal and reliable because they have transformed from cattle, sheep, and other livestock. Some are born cunning because they have transformed from foxes. Some are born clever, good at temporizing and flattering because they have transformed from domestic dogs. Then what about the insects and microorganisms, henceforth called microbes? Of course they are lives too. About the spirituality of insects, please read the Entomological Memories, written by the famous French entomologist, Henri Fabre. This 10-volume, 400 million-word monograph is filled with lively, vivid descriptions about the spirituality of many insects. In fact, if we observe carefully, dung beetles shaping manure into balls to carry home, the tacit teamwork of ants and bees, and the movements and skills of flies mating, we find that insects certainly have spirituality. As for the transformations of insects and microbes after death, they all belong to another space, world. Though insects and microbes are closely related to people, the nature of their lives is extremely different from ours. There are no transformations between them and us, that is, people will not become insects or microbes nor vice versa. Now let us consider whether plants have spirituality or not. I will start by referring to some instances from an article on the web. Lagerstremia indica plants in the Nanhua Temple on Tiantai Mountain have leaves and branches that actually swing when people touch them. Mimosa draw their leaves back when they are touched. Dancing grass is so named because it has small leaves that keep dancing after the wind stops blowing. During the war against Japan, a large number of bamboos around China bloomed suicidally. The bamboo would die soon after blooming white flowers. During the late 1980s, after the Zhanghuai flood in the spring, the local bamboo also flowered, which predicted the summer floods and proved the local proverb that says, "Floods will come when bamboos bloom flowers." Clivia never bloom around troubled or inharmonious families, but do bloom in advance to announce good news, and when happy events coming. Oaks will blow themselves up when loggers come, and carrots will quiver in fear when rabbits enter their fields. Ammeters have shown that tequila plants with palm shapes react to people's psychological feelings and even trace their owners' daily feelings of safety, danger, joy, and anger. If plants that are fond of light are planted in dank places, they become disgruntled and do not grow well, but if ombrophyte are planted in sunny places, they will become frustrated and even die. Some plants release poisonous gases. Evening primrose can make hospital patients with hypertension and heart diseases feel uncomfortable, and some plants can make the people whom they dislike become allergic and fall ill. Grapevines planted next to pine trees do not bear fruit, but ones planted next to elms bear sour fruit. We have found that plants will burst into tears and release angry biowaves when a branch is broken, but will flourish and release joyous biowaves when we water them, fertilize them, care for them, play music for them, and talk to them. Giraffes prefer a particular tree which can release toxic gases within a few minutes after they begin to eat them to force the giraffes to stop eating and go away. In myth novels, plants, especially flowers, possess human-like spirituality, and they are even regarded as fairies descending from the upper world. In short, plants have spirituality. They have languages, emotions, memories, thoughts, induction, and all the features possessed by people. Plants protect us when we cherish them but punish us when we harm them. Can plants be transformed into other lives after death? Yes. Non-flowering vegetation transforms into microbes. Flowering vegetation transforms into insects. Flowering and fruiting vegetation transform into herbivores. Vegetation does not transform directly into carnivores or people after death. All flowering plants derive from the nimbus of celestial world, and that is where they return directly, so they are not transformed into humans. Grass also has life, but its life, along with insects and others, forms their own life system which does not belong to the system of animals, flowers, trees, humans, celestial beings, and Buddhas. In other words, people will not be transformed into grass and vice versa. Nothing but humans, microbes, insects, and other animals, flowers, and trees can be regarded as life, but this does not mean that they lack spirituality. All things have spirituality. Mountains, water, the earth, stones, and especially gems all have spirituality. Metal and almost everything else has memory. Although these substances possess most of the properties of life, they do not have consciousness and cannot be transformed into other life after they pass on, so they are not within the life category. What about invisible super-celestial beings, Buddha, gods, devils, ghosts, and others who are of the spirit world? They can be seen as life only when they take on physical forms. Without a physical form, they are only spirits. This is why Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, and Lao Tzu took human forms when they appeared before us. The people going to the 1,000-year world or the 10,000-year world after death are not spirits, but life, because they will retain physical forms, But in the case of those who become Buddha after death, they have the power to change their forms, so they can exist in the Elysium world as spirits or miraculously transform into any physical form freely and omnipotently. In short, we should distinguish between life and non-life with those 8 features listed above. Anything that has them is life, and anything that does not is not. The meaning of life. Xiefeng, August 16, 2005. Translated by Transin. From knowing the origin of life, we shall know the meaning of life. Without the universe, there is no life. Without life, there is no universe. The universe exists for life. Life exists for universe. We construct buildings with the purpose of providing places for various human activities. They would have no value if nobody used them, and they would soon wear out and collapse, but if people do use and maintain them, then they will exist for a long time. If there were no life activities on the Earth, in the solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy, or even in the entire universe, then none of them would have come into being. We are talking the meaning of life from a broad perspective here, but in the narrow sense. The meaning of microbes such as bacteria is to serve the insects and vegetation. The meaning of insects and vegetation is to serve animals. The meaning of animals is to serve people. The meaning of people is to serve celestial beings in the celestial world. The meaning of celestial beings is to serve the gods. The meaning of the gods is to serve the greatest creator. The meaning of the greatest creator is to serve all life forms. All in all, the meaning of life is to serve the greatest creator, and the meaning of the greatest creator is to serve all life forms in the universe. The levels of life. Xiefeng, August 16, 2005. Translated by Transin. In terms of the non-material structure of its spirituality, life can be divided into 16 levels. Successively, they are: the first level, the greatest creator. It possesses perfect non-material structure. Its psychic energy is able to penetrate all material and all spaces without any hindrance. The second level, gods. It possesses defective non-material structure. Its psychic energy is able to penetrate all materials and most spaces, but cannot enter into the zero world, and cannot compete with the greatest creator. The third level, celestial beings and Buddha. All the celestial beings and Buddha are at the same level of life, and with only racial differences. Based on their magical power, celestial beings can be divided into the following categories: super celestial beings, deity celestial beings, land celestial beings, human celestial beings, ghost celestial beings. The basic features of super celestial beings are: 1. That they are not bound by time or space. 2. That they can sense subtle changes throughout the universe. 3. That they can sense the consciousnesses of the greatest creator and gods, and make rapid responses according to their consciousnesses. 4. They can be visible or invisible, tangible or intangible. 5. They have ever-changing magical powers which allow them to be in thousands of incarnations, and exist in different life spaces at the same time. 6. Their base camp is the Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world. The basic features of deity celestial beings are: 1. They are unable to change into thousands of incarnations, yet they have magical powers to mount the clouds and ride the mist. 2. They can be invisible and can transform and travel between yin and yang space freely. 3. They need no food supplies and can discern past and future. 4. They can travel billions of miles in the blink of an eye. 5. They dislike living in groups, so they do not have any base camp. 6. They travel everywhere they want and do whatever they like. Except for the zero world and the heaven world, they can travel anywhere, which is the so-called powerful and unconstrained style of independence. The basic features of land celestial beings are: 7. They enjoy long lifespans, require less food and drinks, and are free from diseases and worries. 8. They are able to walk on the surface of water, walk through walls, and fly over the tops of the trees. 9. They are able to travel thousands of miles without becoming fatigued. 10. Their base camp is the 10,000-year world. 11. They may occasionally appear in the human world, but ordinary people cannot see or hear them or sense their presence. The basic features of human celestial beings are: 1. They have physical bodies, but their consciousnesses are different from those of ordinary people. 2. They have obtained knowledge such as the structure of the universe, 36-dimensional spaces, the origin of the universe, life in human beings, the transformation mechanism of causality, and the law of transmigration of life. 3. They are sages attaining Tao and possessing perfect human nature. 4. They do not have private property and do not participate in any form of confrontation or competition. 5. They take things as they are, associate with others by following predestined relations, act in accordance with their nature, and take advantage of opportunities that arise. 6. They live with perfect spirituality and human nature. 7. They know clearly the next stop of their life and have no fear of death in any sense. That means that they have escaped the shackles of death. 8. The community of human celestial beings is on the 1,000-year world. 9. Only 1 out of every 10,000 people in human society possess the qualities of human celestial beings. If they can take one extra step, then they will join the ranks of human celestial being. The basic features of ghost celestial beings are: 1. Their flesh is dead, but their consciousnesses still remain in the human world. 2. They are transformed generally from those extremely intelligent people who are too anxious to accomplish their purpose. According to the nature of Buddha, Buddhas can be divided into 10 categories. Buddhas on the Supreme Authentic Wisdom continent are the most superior ones. Other Buddhas live on the Gods continent, Moon Temple continent, the continent for 3 realms lives to pass through, Celestial Islands continent, Amida Buddha continent, Ingwu continent, Kasayapa continent, the Borneo continent, and the Lotus continent by their levels. Buddhas on the Lotus continent are the minimum level ones. In the human world, there are no Buddhas in a real sense, but only everyone's original natures. Once people attain their original natures through self-cultivation, their physical bodies will pass into parinirvana immediately, and their life will reach the primary level of Buddhas on the Lotus continent. The 4th level, Devils. Devils is the incarnation of Buddha. It is a brief but extreme manifestation of Buddhas who are self-refining. The power of the devils is greater than that of Buddhas and can easily reach the level of gods. Therefore, the greatest creator attends to the matter himself whenever a great quantity of devils emerge and restrains them in the cathode black hole body. The 5th level, Humans. Humans are a kind of life living on Earth and relying on their visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, tactile, and spiritual perceptions. They do not possess the ability of supernatural transformation and must live on food. According to their origin, humans can be classified into any of 5 categories: ignorant people, laity, mortals, sages, and celestials. 1. Ignorant people rely on instinct for survival, and their previous existence was a tree or a lower-level animal. 2. Laity rely on desire for survival, and their previous existence was a higher-level animal, livestock, or a flying bird. 3. Mortals rely on sentiment for survival, and their previous existence was a laity or a mortal. 4. Sages rely on rationality for survival, and their previous existence was a celestial or a sage. 5. Celestials rely on spirituality to survive, and their previous existence was a celestial or human celestial being from the 1,000-year world. In addition, 1 out of every 10 million people in human society are celestial beings from the 10,000-year world, Buddhas from the Elysium world, or gods from heaven carrying special missions. The 6th level, flying birds. Flying birds are a kind of life living in four-dimensional space. Their wisdom is lower than humankind, but they have more freedom and their space of activities are larger than that of humankind. Flying birds are gregarious and belong to cooperative living species. 1. Red-crowned cranes are the highest level of flying birds, enjoying a longer lifespan and a high level of spirituality. 2. Other cranes, storks, and wild geese are at the 2nd level. 3. Eagles and owls are at the 3rd level. 4. Warblers, parrots, and hummingbirds dwelling in the forest, pigeons, and crows inhabiting broad areas, and mandarin ducks, egrets, and other ducks living by water are at an even lower level. 5. Poultry and other birds with wings but who cannot fly, such as ostriches, are at the lowest level of birds. The 7th level, flowering plants. Flowering plants refer to all those flowering but infertile plants, including some flowering but fruitless trees and herbs. Flowering plants possess very high spirituality. They are almost imitations of flowering plants in the 10,000-year world. In addition to decorating nature, the main function of flowering plants is to serve the sages and celestials by reminding and enlightening those people with high spirituality, not to forget the existence of the deity celestial being world, and to advance to the 10,000-year world. 1. The highest level of flowering plants are peonies. 2. The 2nd level of flowers include Chinese herbaceous peonies, Chinese flowering crabapples, lotuses, daffodils, winter sweets, sweet-scented osmanthus, plums blossom, lunar September chrysanthemums, magnolia denudata, azaleas, orchids, and epiphyllums. 3. The middle level flowers include roses, cloves, Clivia minata, spring orchids, Chinese hibiscuses, Albizia julibrissin, Indian calameres, herbs, jasmines, winter jasmines, laurels, tulips, chrysanthemums, cacti, Echinopsis tubiflorum, and the like. 4. The lowest level of flowers are poplar blossoms, reed catkins, rattan flowers, day lilies, and water caltrop flowers. The 8th level, livestock. Livestock are under human control and protection, and serve the needs of humankind directly. Although they are not as free as wild animals, their risk of danger to their survival is lower than the others. If wild animals were to be compared to illiterate people, then domestic ones would be like disciplined high school students or university students trained by civilization. Wild animals only know how to obtain, whereas domestic animals only know how to dedicate. The 9th level, wildlife on land and aquatic life in the sea. The 10th level, trees. The 11th level, insects. The 12th level, herbs and crops. 1. Glossy ganodermas are the most superior level of herbs. 2. Asparagus ferns and bracket plants are high level of herbs. 3. Crops and vegetables are middle level herbs. 4. Plain grass is at the lowest level. The 13th level, microorganisms and fungi. The 14th level, demons and monsters in hell. The 15th level, life in frozen layer. The 16th level, life in inflamed layer. The levels of life have been divided into the above categories mainly according to their levels of spirituality of life. The higher their levels of life are, the higher their levels of freedom, living standards, and quality of life will be, and vice versa. That is to say, gods do not want to become celestial beings, or Buddhas, celestial beings and Buddhas do not want to become humans, humans do not want to become birds, birds do not want to become flowers, flowers do not want to become domestic animals do not want to become wild or aquarium animals, and wild animals do not want to become trees or crops, and so on and so forth. For humankind, the direction of the advancement of life should aim toward higher spaces of life. Ignorant persons should advance toward laity, laity should advance toward mortals, mortals should advance toward sages, sages should advance toward human celestial beings, and human celestial beings should advance toward land celestial beings, deity celestial beings, super celestial beings, and Buddhas. The path of life is very clear. From the perspective of space, people in the human world should strive for the 1,000-year world, human celestial beings there should strive for the 10,000-year world, land celestial beings there should aim toward the free deity celestial beings, and deity celestial beings who wander worldwide all day long should strive toward becoming super celestial beings in Elysium world, which is the top level of life. It is impossible for human beings to become gods, and needless to say, there is no possibility of becoming the unique greatest creator. Everything is clear and simple when seen from this perspective. The Transmigration of Life. Siefeng, August 16, 2005, translated by Transin. Essentially, nothing in the universe exists except for energy and life. When energy is absorbed into non-material structures with spirituality, lives manifest themselves. When lives possess consciousnesses, thousands of manifestations of substances will come about. All matter originates from energy and returns to energy in the end. All lives originate from structures and return to structures in the end. Where there is energy, there is life. The total amount of energy in the universe is constant and unchanging. The total number of lives in the universe never increases or decreases. The total amount of energy and the number of lives are proportional. The ratio between them is constant. Although new life can be created, it has a saturation point. After reaching this point, no new life can be created. Once it is created, life cannot be extinguished because its nature is a non-material structure with spirituality, and this non-material structure does not die. It can only transform from one form to another and from one space to another. As the number of people on Earth increases, the number of animals and plants decreases accordingly, and were the number of human celestial beings in the 1,000-year world to increase, then the number of people in the mortal world would decrease accordingly. This is the way it goes. The transmigration of life runs in these 10 spaces. 1. The Elysium world. 2. The 10,000-year world. 3. The 1,000-year world. 4. The mortal world. 5. The livestock world. 6. The animal world. 7. The plant world. 8. The nether world. 9. The frozen layer. 10. The inflamed layer. The holographic order world refers only to the spaces of energy aggregation. 1. The zero world is a special, unique place for the greatest creator. 2. The heaven world is the place for gods. 3. The cathode black hole body is the prison for senior life devils. 4. The anode black hole body is only a place for temporary transformation of life, reincarnation. 5. The dream world is a place for demonstrations of past and future of lives from all spaces. 6. The bacteria and insect worlds, including the herbs of the plant world, are transmigration and transformation places for another nature of life. Is life really immortal? Is it really all transmigration and transformation? Yes, life is really immortal, but what is mortal are just its manifestations. When we see that someone is dead, it does not mean that their life is dead, but only that their carrier is dead. It is as if we moved out of an old house and into a new one. The previous house became useless or it was being called dead. We cannot say that we have died just because we moved out when our previous house became empty. What would we do if we wanted to cross a river and travel to the other side? We would build or rent a boat, but once the boat pulls onto the opposite shore, we would abandon it because the boat would have accomplished its mission, and we would then go ashore and continue along our way. We are life, the boat is flesh, the river is life. We enter into this river by means of our bodies and then paddle toward the other side. As soon as we land ashore, we would abandon our boat or body and continue on with our journey. Should we describe candles that have burnt down to their ends as being dead? Their external forms are indeed dead, and no longer exist, but their nature, their energy, has been converted and has floated up into the air or onto the bodies of other objects and lives on. When we eat apples, we chew and swallow them into our stomachs until at last, only their seeds remain. Where have the apples gone? Have they died? Yes, their external forms no longer exist. They are as dead as they can be, but their nature, their energy, will have been converted and transformed into nutrition for our bodies. If we expose a cup of water to sunshine, it will evaporate after several hours, but where will it go? Will it be dead? No, surely water does not die. What will die is just the water's form, but its nature will turn into vapor and rise up to the sky. When it meets cold air, it will drop down to the earth in the form of rain or snow. Therefore, water is constantly cycling, transmigrating. If water were to die, its volume would have long since depleted. In the second section of Unconventional Thinking, in my article entitled Life and Death Are Only Images, Life Has Neither Life Nor Death, I demonstrated the philosophic principle that life has neither life nor death and listed some examples such as the regeneration of a girl, the witness of the reincarnation of the living Buddha of Tibet, and the results of research at the International Near-Death Research Institute. You may wish to reread this part once again. It might occur to you suddenly that someplace or something seems so familiar that you feel like you have been there before or touched it before, but this only happens when your mind is in a peaceful, resting state, and that feeling disappears quickly. Why does this feeling arise? It is because this phenomenon is a reflection of your instant memory from past environments in your previous lives which are buried into your subconscious thoughts. When people come to places where they have never been before, they may get sudden feelings that seem very familiar, and those feelings are proof that they used to live or work there in a previous life. Generally speaking, everyone gets these feelings if they were human in their previous lives and if they remained human after transmigrating. If they were not human in their previous lives but were transmigrated from other forms of life, then they would usually not have these kinds of feelings because animals sense things differently. With the rapid developments of human societies and the great environmental changes in the modern era, it is relatively difficult for people to relive these past memories. Some people have mirages in their consciousnesses very often and are extremely sensitive to illusory space, which could indicate that their previous life environments were not in the mortal human world, but rather in the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or even the Elysium world. The higher one's spirituality is, the stronger their feelings for the nature of life will be, but the duller their spirituality is, the weaker those feelings will be. Death is just a phenomenon of life, but eternity is the essence of life. Actually, there is no birth or death in any sense for the essence of life, but only matters of transformations through transmigrations.